Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this important webinar on information security and business continuity from a Southern Africa perspective. My name is Abraão Paulo Sakelo, and alongside me is my esteemed colleague, Musonda Kapaya. We are excited to share our insights and experience with you. I'm a senior consultant, PCB certified trainer, and speaker with over 15 years of experience in information security, technology, and business continuity. I've worked across various industry sectors, including, but not limited to the financial sector, developing best practice guidance and risk management analysis, and so on. Currently, I'm the director and founder of Zulu Tecnologia Soluções, a company based in Angola, which has already delivered several PCB training, both in information security and business continuity. At this time, I hold quite a few of certifications, such as, and not limited to, PCB certified ISO 22301, lead the implementer, PCB certified ISO 27001, lead the implementer, PCB certified ISO 27001, senior lead the auditor, PCB ISO 2301, senior leader implementer. In about a few minutes, Musonda Kapaya is going to introduce himself as well. Together, we explore the unique challenge and opportunity in implementing robust information security and the business continuity practice in Southern Africa. In today's session, we will delve into Southern Africa digital adoption, state of cybersecurity in Southern Africa, creating a resilient cyber posture environment through ISO 27001 and 22301, overcoming SADC Challenges through ISO 27001 and ISO 22301, and last but not least, question and the answer, as you can see from the agenda. Please, Musonda, just show the agenda, providing you with the actionable insights and the strategy to strengthen your information security and business continuity plans tailored to the specific needs of this region. Once again, thank you for being here. We look forward to an engaging and informative session. Without further ado, let's get started. Musonda, please, your turn.
Thank you, Abraão, and hello, everyone. And indeed, it's such a privilege to be part of this wonderful discussion. I have been an advocate of information sharing as a part of creating a resilient cybersecurity ecosystem, and so this really excites me. I hope that we shall share an impactful knowledge and insights to help create a resilient cyberspace for our region and beyond. My name is Musonda Kapaya, as introduced, and I am the CEO and founder of DigitalSafe Limited, a cybersecurity, digital transformation, and risk management consulting firm based here in Zambia. We deliver PCB certification training, implementation, support, and assessments for different types of standards and frameworks. We provide, beyond that, also red teaming and blue teaming services above our trusted advisory. We do information security and cybersecurity end-to-end. I have over 28 years of hands-on experience, don't judge me, in the industry with a bias to financial sector, with a very good understanding of information security, governance, and risk management. I am a fellow at the ICT Association of Zambia, and I'm a member of the Institute of Directors and a good member of ISAC. My learning journey includes an MSc in Management Information Systems, CISSP, CH, and to mention from PCB, I have done ISO 42001 training, Certified Digital Transformation Officer, ISO 38500, ISO 27001, 27002, 27005, and Enterprise Risk 31000. And so, as my co-pilot, Abraão, has introduced our agenda, we'll straight away go and first of all test your technology. Please prepare with you your mobile phones so that we can do a little quiz or a little poll.
Okay, I already opened my phone just to go through the question via scan.
Yes, so please, if you may, go ahead and scan the QR code. If you cannot scan the QR code, you can go to www.menti.com and enter the code 18441266. All right, so I see we have already Generation X leading there. Okay, I know we have over 73 participants, so we expect a lot of the numbers to go much higher than that. Fantastic.
Okay, believe that number is increasing. Just wait
Yes,
for a
the
while.
number is. Wow, Generation X is leading. Oh, not too long. Generation Z. Okay, let's keep pushing, team. I think we have out of 74, only about 20 so far. There are no baby boomers at all in this presentation.
Not yet. Right.
Let's go 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes.
Yes.
Only a quarter of the people have voted. Please, to be able to vote, scan the QR code, or if you can't, you can go to www.menti.com and enter the code 18441266. One and a half minutes.
No traditionalist. Traditionalist. There is no talent.
Yeah. So do not have a few more questions. So let's push. See if we can reach 50 voters at least. Wow, it's a very tight rope between Generation X, Millennials, and Generation Z. And very clearly, I think we can see from this line that Africa has got a very young, population. Okay, I can take a few more, maybe 3 or 4 more. Scan the QR code. Okay, I think Abraão, maybe we can move with 37 voters. And
yes, we can go ahead and just
let's take a minute on
next question. Yes.
The type of people that we have. It's very important for our discussion. I'll move the next slide. Please answer the question. Has the organization adopted any standards? ISO 27001. It doesn't matter if you've done more than one, just want to see if you have any standards adopted. can see. Okay, 1 more minute. Please don't feel shy. We won't know if you don't have a standard. Okay, moving much faster. You can see more voters coming. And very clearly, the majority of the votes here are no standards implemented. Again, it gives us a very good understanding of where we are in terms of our safety as a region. I'm happy to note at least 2 even have gone further to enhance their resilience. But still, as it is, majority haven't implemented in standards. Okay, you can see some adjustments on thoughts. And please be as transparent as possible so we have a real estimate. Okay, again, participants note that in our region, hopefully most people that are plugged in here are from our region. Most organizations do not have standards. I'll move to the next question. Again, please be truthful. When was the last time your organization went through cybersecurity awareness? Within 30 days, very good. Last 3 months, last one. Okay. 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 Okay, and I think we all agree that cyber threat landscape is extremely dynamic, and therefore the frequency of awareness is very important. At least I can see quite a number in the last 30 days, but still more than 1 year, and sure, last 1 year, totaling 16, 17. Okay, few more, 2 more. So again, we can see there the statistics are telling us in terms of cybersecurity awareness, only 12 have had it in the last 30 days out of 37. And the majority on the other side, on the right side, which is not where we want to be. So very clearly, it's already giving us a lot, a direction on where we are in terms of our security and our resilience. I'll move to the next question. And the last one, when was the last time your organization conducted a cybersecurity assessment? Give it a truthful go. And Abraão, I can guarantee that most of the ones who are on the left side of the graph, it tends to be more proactive after some form of attack.
That's it. That's it. I agree with you. Absolutely.
Management approves the assessment when there was an attack, which is a bit too late. But
Yes.
also, again, you can see that the majority of the organizations are sitting on the right side. And just from these 4 questions already, I think the discussion is very clear. And I think it will also justify some of the points that we're going to look at. And so out of the region of 30 something, 38, maybe 2 more, I'd say. Yeah, we have 12 unsure, more than 1 year, 4, last 1 year, 4, 6 months, and last 3 months. And we have a good number actually on the left side.
Yes,
9 they had their assessment in the last 3 In fact, it has increased.
Yeah, 30 days at least, the number is increasing now, which is good.
Yeah, so I think the poll has given us a very good indication on where we are, and I think maybe what we need to do now is look at why we are where we are now. And to begin with, I think we'll just appreciate, Africa as a region in terms of, the digital adoption, and to be specific, the southern, part of it, which is the SADC. So Africa as a region, as we know, is very endowed with abundant natural resources, and has been experiencing some rapid economic development. And over the last 20 years, I think based on IMF, the GDP of the region has increased fivefold, actually, from about 695 billion to 2.9 trillion in 2022, okay, with the GDP expected to exceed 4 trillion by 2027. This cumulative growth of African economies reflects the region's huge potential, and also what is contributing to the increase in demand for internet and digital services to support digitalization and transformation. So we can quickly look at some of the issues that are affecting, the adoption of the digital landscape. Number one, I think we can look at high mobile adoption. The rapid expansion of mobile technology in Africa has made mobile phones primarily, the primary means of communication and internet access. This has enabled individuals to engage in digital activities such as mobile, banking, e-commerce, and social media. And I'm very sure even on this presentation that some people are actually accessing this webinar through their mobile phones, if not most, considering the age group that we have seen. And also something that supports what we've seen is the young population. Africa has a young and tech-savvy population that is driving the demand for digital services. The youth are early adopters of social media, mobile apps, and e-commerce platforms, contributing to the growth of the digital economy. We've also seen a push in financial inclusion, which also speaks digital inclusion. Financial services like mobile money and digital wallets are gaining popularity as alternatives to traditional banking, enabling access to financial services for unbanked and underbanked populations. We also see an expansion on digital markets, e-commerce platforms. Digital markets have revolutionized trade and businesses in Africa, enabling entrepreneurs and small businesses to expand their customer base, promoting economic growth and digital adoption. Just yesterday, somebody was asking me who is available to do websites and payment platforms because they want to introduce their services online, because that is what everyone lives, as you know. We are digital citizens, or netizens as they call us. Then digital skills development as well. Digital literacy and skills development are being enhanced by educational institutions, private organizations, and government initiatives, enabling individuals to participate in the digital economy for employment and entrepreneurship. So digital literacy is key for all the things that are happening. You at least should be able to drive in the digital space. And then, of course, most importantly, internet adoption. Africa's internet connectivity has significantly improved. And it's interesting what we call significant, because we're still having challenges, but it's significant. And so this is due to, of course, the deployment of the undersea optic cables, satellite technology. I think now a lot of people, especially in my country, and I'm sure in the region, are now jumping to Starlink to optimize the access to the internet, which is also a mobile infrastructure, thereby enhancing digital adoption opportunities. But this always comes with a challenge. I think we are enjoying a lot of digital activity, but I think it has a flip side to it. And so what kind of, challenges are we then being able to, rather are we seeing with the adoption of, the digital landscape in Africa, and Southern Africa to be specific? So we have, of course, cybersecurity threats, because we are, engaging, in the digital space. We're adopting new technologies. We're generally expanding the threat landscape or the attack surface. If you look at, of course, the IoT now, where even the physical devices are now being monitored through the internet, that is really now giving us headaches. With artificial intelligence and all these emerging technologies that are coming. We also have seen issues to do with regulatory changes. I think the rapid pace of digital adoption often outpaces regulatory frameworks. This we can all agree. This creates challenges in effectively addressing emerging technologies and ensuring compliance. Right now here in Zambia, we just introduced laws. I think after technology has come, and to be able to match, synchronize this always seems to be a problem. Obviously, we bring in the digital divide, which refers to the gap between those who have access to digital technologies and those who do not have. Even if we speak, financial inclusion, we know in Africa that we have a lot of people that are living in areas where they are not technology able, and therefore the good services are only appreciated in the urban areas where technology is accessible. We have also disruption of traditional industries. So digital adoption can disrupt traditional industries and business models. This can lead, of course, to job displacements, economic challenges, and the need for reskilling and upskilling to adapt to the changing landscape. The adoption of automation technologies includes, of course, emerging technologies like AI, robotics, and has transformed industries. While automation offers increased efficiency and productivity, it also raises concerns. Will I have the job? Will AI take over my job? Okay. For example, the growth of e-commerce has led to the closure of a number of brick and mortar retail stores, resulting in job losses, of course, for traditional retail workers. Then we have also fake news and misinformation. I think if you look at where we are now, a lot of countries have been having votes, and I think we have witnessed misinformation and basically where people are easily just sending information that is not, and that's not validated, posting it and sharing it, and that actually cause problems. Recently, one of our banks actually had somebody who posted that the bank has actually not, or was actually closing, which was very, very sad, because the reputational damage that could have caused was massive. So that kind of misinformation is unacceptable. We also have disinformation, which is basically people deliberately giving you wrong information. And all these are very capable activities based on artificial intelligence now with deepfake. We also have dependency on technology. Dependency on technology, increases reliance on, dependence on technology. Increased reliance on digital technologies can create vulnerabilities and dependencies. System failures, critical glitches, and cyber attacks on critical, services. So imagine our power, imagine your water facilities, being hampered. We've seen this before from state-owned attacks, where governments have been attacked by denial of service and the services are unavailable. We also have ethical issues. I think digital adoption raises ethical concerns related to data ethics, algorithm biases, AI ethics, and ethical use of emerging technologies. These considerations require careful attention to ensure responsible and ethical practice. Autonomous vehicles, for example, we now are getting vehicles that are going to make decisions on their own. And I read something very interesting where, imagine an autonomous vehicle with brakes that are not working. It has to make a decision between an old woman and a young person. And they can only save one, turning left perhaps or right to save one person. What kind of decision does that car make? So we have issues like that. We've also seen conversations around cameras, facial recognition with having a bias to race. These discussions have been had. So we have to look at these risks as they come. Privacy concerns as well, as we are collecting information. How are we going to ensure that the right people are getting the information for the right reasons? So these are just some of the emerging, threats that we can discuss based on us enjoying technology, as it were. To go further, I think it would be important to just look at where are we with cybersecurity or information security as Southern Africa. And so there was a survey that was done by an organization called C3SA, which is Cybersecurity Capacity Building in South Africa, based in Cape Town. They're a consortium, and they do capacity building. They do research based on vulnerabilities in cybersecurity in Southern Africa. So the CMMA categorizes in 4 main statuses, which basically is a startup, formative, established, and dynamic. And startup basically means that is when you are collecting information and trying to establish yourself. Formative is where you're now starting to put together, formulating, you know, whether it's policies or standards or whatever it is. And then established is where you have actually established, but you haven't yet implemented. Dynamic is where you are fully put in the protocols. So the outcome of that was that, if you see number 1, in terms of cybersecurity policy and strategy, 80% of the SADC countries were still in startup. Okay, so we are still trying to put things together in terms of what is the policy we're going to use to drive our country or to drive our organization, and probably we have a strategy. So we haven't actually even put it in place. And then also about 50% also in startup in terms of the cybersecurity culture in society, meaning that, as we saw even from the poll, inadequate awareness is being conducted. Then we also have cybersecurity knowledge and capabilities, where we're talking about the skill sets now. Okay, do we have the right people with the right, training capacity? And as it is globally, we have a challenge. So we were informative, and this is where we're trying to set up the skill sets of people like you and I that can actually help to minimize this, cyber risks. Then cybersecurity legal and regulatory framework. Again, 60% formative, putting them together. And again, I can speak from a Zambian perspective. This is when we just, enacted the laws. I don't know, Abraão from Angola, where you are with the legal framework. Yeah, so then we have number.
Yeah, yes. Actually, it's the same. Just being take some step there on cybersecurity policy and strategy. So maybe by next years, even months, we're gonna have also the same report with the Angolan updated, maybe in such a way that we should say that they are on not really on formative startup, but on established. Let's wait for a while.
Yeah. So again, when you looked at the number 5, we're looking at cybersecurity standards and technologies. Again, 75% at startup. Again, if you look at the poll that we had quite a decent number of people that have not adopted any standard at all. So that speaks to the maturity of the continent where we are. Then you look at development of cybersecurity strategy and policy. A few countries there you can see, with the earliest being Mauritius, who established their strategy in 2014. I think we also had Malawi 2019, South Africa 2015. In Zambia, I think it was in 2021. But also remember that policies have to be revised on a regular basis. So most of these, if they're still using the same policies, then they are way behind. It means that they have not incorporated emerging technologies like AI, quantum computing, and all these things that may come following the time that they had the review. So the review of the 16 SADC countries found that the region was, as a whole, at a lower maturity level compared to the rest of the world in all dimensions. While this is not good news, these findings provide us a clear basis for prioritizing the building of cyber capacity across the region. So what does it look like in terms of the global outlook? So it will be good to review. According to the World Economic Forum, 5 critical risks were identified, and I think we can literally relate to all this. Number 1, emerging technologies will exacerbate long-standing challenges. I think I did speak a little bit on that, but when you look at things like AI, deepfakes, IoT, which seriously extends the threat landscape, possible cryptography risks based on quantum computing, those are things that we have to really consider. And I don't know if I wish I had a poll to ask how many of the organizations in here actually are discussing conversations around AI, quantum computing, and so on. Then cyber skills and talent. shortage continues to widen at an alarming rate. Okay, so estimated now is over 5 million globally. And I think in the region alone, we're talking about 100,000 certified professionals actually needed to assist with the cyber skills gap in Africa. And unfortunately, we're also chasing, a moving target. Then geopolitics, again, we have seen Russia-Ukraine fighting. We have seen, a spike, in the cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. These are things that we have to be mindful of. The rapid uptake of technologies has outpaced also the ability to implement security. Thanks to COVID, I think when the pandemic was there, a lot of organizations jumped into technology, but they forgot about the security component, and most of them are coming back now, trying to amend. Then there's a growing cyber inequity between organizations that are cyber resilient, and those that are not, what we're calling, the cyber poverty line. How do we maintain a minimum requirement when we have big organizations that can have capability to buy technology, then we have small organizations that can't? Well, big organizations that can employ people get consultants like Abraão, and then smaller ones can't. But at the end of this, all organizations in the digital space are connected. So it is pointless to have a very strong organization, integrating with developers, integrating with third parties that are not, secure. What is some of the common challenges that we're seeing in the region that are causing the position where we are in now? So number one, again, very close to what the World Economic Forum looked at. Now, bringing it home, we do have a limited cybersecurity expertise. Okay, lack of skilled cybersecurity professionals hinders effective threat prevention and response. We have insufficient funding across most of our organizations here. If we are to ask and talk about budget, we will know that most of the time we're only funded when we've been attacked. This is an area which needs to change. Again, we have a lot of organizations with outdated infrastructure, still working, for example, telcos work with 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and in all those they have good security challenges. We still have organizations, unfortunately, in 2024 that are using, ATMs that are running on operating systems that are already reached end of life. So makes patches very complicated and things like that. Then we also have the growing inequity, which again we have looked at. This also applies to us, okay, especially this side of the world. I can see even in our own country, some of the organizations are able to implement and apply security based on their capabilities. They've got the money to deploy technologies that are current, or others can't. And then poor hygiene and digital literacy has been one of the biggest challenges that we have seen in the region, where organizations are not doing their patch management, organizations are not managing their vendors, organizations are still not implementing proper password policies and so on. And finally, of course, we look at legislation. Only 29 out of the 54 African countries comfortably introduced legislation, and this indicates that Africa's level of commitment to cybersecurity is lagging behind. Again, from the previous discussions, this is just justified. Some of the top threats at SADC: ransomware attacks, business email compromise, crimeware as a service, third-party and supply chain, phishing kits. Okay, when you see ransomware and when you hear a lot of organizations being attacked by ransomware, it just shows how weak our infrastructure is. Because ransomware, normally the attack vector for ransomware is vulnerabilities on servers, vulnerabilities in applications, vulnerabilities in your network. And if we have a lot of companies being attacked by ransomware, it just shows exactly where we are. So we need to look out for these top vulnerabilities. So I will then move to this last part. Please pick up your phones again and let's see where we are. Which of the vulnerabilities have highly impacted your enterprise sector or country? Please select just 5. Just to check if you're...
Just open mine, try to...
So we've got compromised credentials, we've got malicious emails, phishing campaigns, we've got security tool misconfiguration, where you've got the security, you've got firewalls, you've got all these tools that you have, but they're not properly configured, or you haven't been checking them. Insecure digital transformation, Okay. So that's just one person. Two.
So we can see the number is increasing there.
Yes, we're increasing 10 people so far.
From compromised credentials in between malicious emails.
Okay, we have almost 100 people in attendance, so I would expect a lot more now. We have only 30% votes. Let's vote, let's vote. But you can see lack of awareness is part of the top ones. We have malicious emails for phishing. We've got compromised credentials leading the pack. Only 29 people have voted. We need some more people to vote. Please scan the QR code. Otherwise, you can go to menti.com and enter the code 67345326. Only 30 so far. A few more, a few more. Don't feel lazy, please, let's vote. Much better, increasing, increasing, increasing. Send your votes, send your votes, send your votes, send your votes.
Okay, Sonda, I think that we can take just can proceed with the number that we have.
Okay, we are 3842. Right, so as you're voting, very clearly you can see that I think the three big pieces are compromised credentials, malicious emails, lack of security awareness. And I think followed by, unpatched systems, then we have poor third-party integrations, security tool misconfiguration. Yeah, only 1% in terms of unsegmented network, but I do believe that a lot of organizations don't have their network segment. But this gives us an understanding. So overall, I think with the, almost 100 people actually that we have, hopefully that speaks to different organizations. Majority of phishing emails, which is very correct. We have a lot of malicious phishing emails, and the social engineering is only becoming more complicated. With the emerging technologies that we have, it's more complicated, more sophisticated to actually manage. But you see the relation here. Malicious emails, phishing, and lack of security awareness are very related. Okay, the less the culture of the organization is, the less the organization is cyber, the cyber culture is good, the poorer they are in terms of clicking the links. So with almost 50% of the people voted, I think this is very clear. And these are some of the things that we have to categorically look into as we look at standards. So these are the same issues. You can see the common vulnerabilities, compromised credentials, malicious emails, security tools, and so on. And some of the causes of these are, the increased sophistication of threats. We have limited technical skills, again, lack of cybersecurity policies, emerging technologies, lack of adequate budget, and of course, executive support. This is based on the financial risks from financial systems and banks, PICAS security in 2022. Just quickly, we can just also look at some of the examples that we have seen in the recent. We had some cyber attack hits on Malawi at the immigration office, which kept the immigration office off for some time. National Bank of Angola also had a challenge. We also had an impact in Namibia there, leaked data. Also, ransomware attack. We had denial of service in Zimbabwe just prior to the election, and also some data breaches. These are just examples of the attacks that are actually happening in the region, and they are real. And so, looking at this, you can tell that the impact of the attacks is actually quite adverse. The cybercrime costs the global economy an estimate of 7 trillion, around there, 7 trillion, and take note, in 2022. This number is expected to rise to 10.5 trillion in 2025. Now, 7 trillion global economy. The cost of cybercrime is 10 times more than the combined 2023 GDP of SADC. Can you imagine that? SADC GDP combined, all the 16 countries, 720 billion, okay? According to the SADC annual report of 2022-2023. This is just a fraction, okay, of the cybercrime globally that is being exploited. If we are able to, within here, being able to minimize and put the appropriate protocols in place, there's so much more we can use that money for. So as a continent, Africa is plagued by some of the highest numbers of cybercrime that negatively impacted social economy. As a result of such increased avenues of cybercrime, financial sector experiences 300% more of the attacks. Cybercrimes have delayed adoption of emerging technologies in some places because of lack of digital trust. I know so many people that still don't use e-commerce because they're scared. Cybercrimes have expanded the cyber iniquity again as more and more organizations in Southern Africa are unable to withstand the cyber attacks. And then these threat actors are experimenting now. I think there was an article not too long ago where they're actually using Africa as a guinea pig because of the poor cyber posture. They are now trying latest ransomware attacks on businesses in Africa. And these are things that we can actually manage. And speaking about that, I think we need then to start thinking about creating a resilient environment where we can actually protect ourselves, defend ourselves from these cyber attacks. And so I think at this stage, Abraão, you have to come in and I think start looking at how do we look at the resilient cyber posture through, the standards that are, ISO 27001 and also the business continuity standard 22301.
Great job, Musonda. It's really very important after we have seen all the challenges that our region is being faced. We have also to imagine that there is a solution, there is a viable solution in order to resolve all of those challenges, all of those problems that some of the enterprise into our region are facing. If you go through the next slide, please, Musonda, we're gonna find out, we're gonna find the CIA triad. Please, Musonda, just put the next, just move on to next slide, please. Yes, first of all, we need to understand the CIA triad, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. When you see this is, let's say, the core main elements in order to understand ISO 27001. When you speak from confidentiality, it really involves the protection from unauthorized access, which will ensure us that all authorized parties can use important data. What are the traits regarding the confidentiality? We're just trying to mention the phishing, as we have seen before from the assessment that you have done, malware, password attacks, insider threats, just to mention some of these, and mean that the organization should maybe implement, which is very important, a control like MFA, multi-factor authentication, and encryption, least privilege principles that can really secure your environment. And another element is integrity. Integrity stands really to understand that from your organization, the data cannot be also accessed accidentally, just in case that someone tried to do a change. You have to prevent this from happening. So ensuring accuracy and authenticity. So some of the common traits that are included there maybe should be human errors, one of the reasons, weak passwords. So how can you resolve this? There is a really user training is one of the things, conduct awareness training inside the organization, hashing technique, and so on. And also just to mention as digital signature is very, very important. Availability is really where we come also with resilience. That's why we're going to talk also about ISO 22301, which is business continuity. But availability ensure that authorized individual can access information when and where exactly it needs this information. Because some of the threats should be a denial of service, technical failure, natural disaster, and so on. So as per the measure or control, we should implement capacity planning, incident management, equipment maintenance, and even so business continuity planning. But what are the fundamentals of ISO 27001? This is the next slide that we're going to explain in not really in more details. Just because of the time, but also just to understand that ISO, in terms of fundamentals, we have some requirements that must be fulfilled. We have here at least from clause 4 to 10, we need to understand how the structure of this ISO. Just try to imagine that we go to the first clause, which is very important, clause number 4, which is a context of the organization. What is this? It means that we have to understand, we have to set the boundary from this clause of our system and the applicability of control. Is the place where we're going to even work with statement of applicability to show exactly what is the control that must be applied, what is the control that must be excluded. And one thing also to understand the mission, the goal of the organization, its value, and so on. That's why we can even use some of the strategic plan tools such as SWOT, just to analyze the strength of the organization, the opportunity that the organization has, weakness, and so on, and threats as well. And also we can use even personal, just to understand the political, economical, legal, environmental, all of those aspects, just to define exactly the context of the organization. And then we can move on to another clause, which is number 5, which is the leadership, mean that we need top management sponsorship. You have to be there just to help us to document a policy statement and with the employees and the clients. Mean that inside the enterprise, inside the organization, everyone must be in compliance and also support the ISMS project. When you go to 6, which is a planning, is a risk-based approach, as we can understand. When I'm talking about ISO 27001, it's really most focused on the risk assessment. If we do well, it means that this project will be also a good success there. Number 7 is support, awareness. We need really to see a competency, awareness, communication, and everything that we are doing must be kept. Mean that for auditor purpose and also for our internal use. And from 8, we have operation. If from number 6 clause, we have already done the assessment, it means that from operation side, this risk must be treated. We have a report from this risk, and we may really resolve all the risk that has been assessed previously. From 9, which is the performance evaluation, is a place where we have to conduct internal audit, even so external audit, in order to review our management system. And then we go ahead with the improvement, which is just to evaluate how good we are, where we're going to find non-conformities and corrective actions. Just to highlight that information security management system, which stands for ISMS, Information Security Management System, provides this kind of framework in order to protect the organization information assets. As we said, ISO 27001 is risk-based approach, okay, which can just help us to identify, assess, and mitigate information security risk. And something that is very important also to highlight is that ISMS is based on it's follow a PDCA cycle. What does it mean? Plan, do, check, and act. We're gonna resolve our problem. We're gonna conduct our project basing on this PDCA cycle, where we're gonna plan, do, check, act, and over time we're gonna do this. So, what are the controls that are involved on the ISO 27001? We have to consider some of the controls and also with some examples. But let's say that from ISMS perspective, we have a group of 4, which is organizational control, people control, privacy control, physical controls, and technological control. At all, we have at least 93 controls. So all divided, but it doesn't mean that the organization or the enterprise must implement all of them. It will depend, as we said before, from the context of the organization. Just to take you an idea, from organizational control, we have 37 organizational control that cover your governance, management, security, management system control. And as an example, we can see some of the organizational controls, such as threat intelligence, information security for use of cloud services, ICT readiness for business continuity. And for people controls, we have even competency, okay, even screening. As we said, before we watch someone, you have to see his background in terms of the criminality and so on. So we have a screening from there. Information security awareness, education, training, all of those stuff are from people control. And then we have information security event reporting is a part of also the people controls. And then we have physical control, which are about 14 control, which cover our physical location and equipment. As an example, surveillance is also one example of the physical control. And then technology control, we have 34 technical control, such as a network, to protect our network, our application, our data, and the infrastructure. So as an example, we have configuration management, data masking, data leakage prevention, monitoring, and so on, even web filtering, just to mention some of them. So what are the benefits of implementing ISO 27001? What are the benefits? Just move on to another. So there are so many benefits, but let's just highlight some of them. As we said, the 3 elements, the triad, CIA, confidentiality, integrity, availability, is one of the benefits that we can take. Mean that our data will be confidential, will be integrated. So we're gonna have integrity from our data, and also operational continuity of our service, which is availability. Increased trust with the respect to partners, customers, and the public. Even fulfillment of internationally recognized requirements. Low cost because you don't have data breach into your organization enterprise. Reduce the chance of security breach within your IT environment. So there is some main benefit when we implement ISO 27001. So what about the other standard that we have already mentioned before? ISO 22301. Of course, that this one also is very important standard framework, which we have to plan as well. We have to recover it, we have to manage ongoing operation, risk, resilience, and also procedures. It follows also the same cycle as we mentioned before, which business continuity management system is just standard for business continuity BCMS. And we have also resilience and recover. This help organization prepare for, respond to, and even recover from disruptive incident, ensure business continuity. And as we mentioned before, it follows a PDCA cycle just to ensure BCMs remain effective and relevant over the times. So if you ask to me, what is the benefit? Okay, it's almost the same as we mentioned for ISO 27001. Can you go for the next slide, please, Musonda? And then we can also find the next benefits of this are, for instance, minimization of downtime during crisis, which is operational resilience, data protection, stakeholder trust. So the benefit seems to be almost the same. The question is that it's crucial that the organization must mitigate the impact of disruption and ensure continued operations. Just go to another. Yes, and then so how can you overcoming a SADC challenge through those two standards as we mentioned before? Musonda, please take your time and try to help us to understand this. Is on mute, please.
Thank you for that. So I was saying that I wish I could take my time, but we don't have enough of that. But however, I think with all the standards that have been mentioned here, I think what is important is to follow these four, principles that were put here, basically to assess, plan, implement, and maintain. And what does that mean? What that means is that you need to understand where you are. I think we have looked at the different types of controls. The 93 controls from the ISO 27001. We've also looked at the requirements from the business continuity to provide us with the resilience. So we then look at our environment and see what are the weaknesses that we have. We conduct a gap analysis, review our existing information security and business continuity processes, understand what risks we have after we have understood the gaps that we have, look at the business impact analysis, and then we need to plan on how we can implement those different controls. So if you have applications, you need to understand, what weaknesses do you have in your infrastructure, if you've got cloud, from the people side. And I think if we follow, the structure of the ISO 27001 very clearly, it has layered us with people, physical, technology, and organizational controls. So do an analysis, review against those controls, and see where we have the gaps, and then come up with a roadmap on how we can implement the relevant controls that are recommended. So set clear information security and business continuity objectives aligned with organizational goals with defined scope. When you plan, I think then you actually get to know and implement these different controls that have been clearly explained by my colleague Abraão. So implementation means implement measures to protect information security and business continuity. Very important to document the processes and plans, ensuring that they are easily accessible. As you noted, we're not very good at policies and documentation. Training and awareness, I think another thing that has come, people need to understand what these controls are for, what they are protecting us against, and how they actually help us to achieve our business goals. That being said, it's also important to know that if in case you are attacked, you need to be able to recover quickly, and that is a point where the business resilience comes in. So business continuity really is to ensure that you continue surviving, you continue operating as an organization, as a country, based on your objectives. So instant response and crisis management are very key to providing resilience, and this is where you plan and try out some of these incidents, tabletop exercises. If you are attacked by a ransomware, for example, what do you need to do? What are the steps? If you had malware in the environment and so on. So understand those. What happens if you've got weaknesses in your people policies? If you're not checking your users from an identity and access management, the number of things that can happen. So in some organizations, you find an employee A was working in a department, moves to another department with the same roles and responsibilities, and that is not the best way to do it. You should be actually manage least privilege, so that that user doesn't actually abuse the roles that they're not supposed to have. So if that happens, what should be really the process in terms of incident responding? And then when you have actually applied, and implemented those controls, done the training, I think it's important that you maintain, the posture of your security. Having certified today doesn't necessarily mean you remain, certified, because we are dealing with a dynamic environment, and so maintenance becomes very important. So continuous review and improve your information security and business continuity management systems by number one, monitoring and measuring. So you need to actually design measures in place using your matrices and KPIs to track performance and ensure that the controls that you have actually laid in are actually working. We need to have dashboards that should be reported to management, should be reported to board, and follow and ensure that we are well resilient. We need to again conduct regular audits, okay, to assess the compliance of our environment against the controls that we have chosen based on the risks that we have identified. We also need to ensure there's continuous improvement by implementing process for continuous improvement, incorporating feedback from the audits and incidents and reviews. I'm sure you know there's the response cycle. There has to be some feedback when what happened, how did it happen, and how do we not fall back into events like that. And then promote a culture of security and resilience through the organization, and culture speaks to awareness and awareness and awareness. And management reviews, conduct periodic management reviews to evaluate the performance of the ISMS and the business continuity management system to ensure alignment with organizational goals. With that said, I think it's important also to look at how then do we align, the controls that we have implemented, plus, business continuity to ensure that resilience environment is maintained. So, Abraão, you want to speak to this?
Yes, absolutely, but this just takes a few minutes, also just because of the time. So there is some synergy in between those two standards, mean that we can implement both of them at the same time, as long as we try to take some steps. Just to say the core elements of business continuities, we should just see for business continuity policy, business impact analysis, business continuity strategies, business continuity plans, exercise and testing. If we just take those elements, what are the main, it means that I can take ISO 27001 as the main project, and then I take also ISO 22301 as the sub project of the main project, and then take those main elements just to do the implementation, while I'm going to find from ISO 27001 the Annex A 530, where I can really directly try to take the resilience and try to implement with those main elements, which means that there is some synergies. And also there is shared results. If I take one as a main project, mean that I can use the same resource for the overall projects. And then we have comprehensive protection, the combination then, continuous improvement, improve the risk management, and also operational efficiency. Mean that the unintegrated management system can lead great efficiency, reduce costs, and also improve overall organizational resilience. Can you go next, please? So this is where we come, the way that we can overcome challenge through viable solution, isn't it, Musonda? What you can do for viable solution? Just unmute your audio, please.
Sorry, I'm used to artificial intelligence, so I thought this would actually automatically. Yeah. So yes, thank you so much, Abraão. I think there's so many controls and activities that are required for us to ensure that we maintain a resilient environment, not just for our organization, but also for our country and our region. But I think that to sum it up, really, this last slide, it's very important that we invest in cybersecurity, and investing in cybersecurity is not a small terminology. I think we're talking about prioritizing investments in security, infrastructure, technology, training, and so on. And I think here, basically what we're trying to do is how do we then understand our environment? We've spoken about that. What do we need to do? I mean, we have very good standards through PCB like ISO 27001, ISO 22301 that will create a controlled and resilient environment. And I think what we need to highlight is really in our environment, what capabilities do we have, in an adaptive, security perspective to protect ourselves? How do we protect ourselves? And again, if we adopt the 4 pillars of ISO 27001, how do we protect ourselves with incidents, with the people issues. How do we protect ourselves with incidents, with technology, organizational and from a physical security perspective. But we all know that it's not all the time that we'll be able to protect ourselves. So sometimes things will happen. So if we do fail to protect, how do we then detect that something has gone wrong? So again, we need to have mechanisms in that to detect and ensure that we can manage our environment. And then if we do not detect, we should be able to recover and continue the business, and therefore applying, the ISO 22301. And in that, it comes fully packed. I think we're talking about defense in depth. We're talking about having to protect your databases through database activity monitoring tools. We're talking about having to protect your network through network detection and response, talking about endpoint managed detection and so on. So the technology stack that you speak with, processes and procedures are going to be very helpful in order for you to ensure that you invest well in the cybersecurity. Regional collaboration is a very key issue that we need to look at. I think in terms of information sharing, like we're doing now, we can only help to minimize the impact of cybersecurity or information security issues when we know the challenges that we are facing, when we can actually share the minimum resources that we have in terms of expertise and so on. And I think, Abraão, you can probably pick up from the security awareness perspective.
Absolutely. Apart from the investment in cybersecurity, which is very important, and also regional collaboration, as you mentioned from Musonda, we have also cybersecurity awareness, which is that this cybersecurity awareness should be among individuals and organizations, and about cybersecurity threats and best practice, which is really very, very crucial. And also, let's take the advantage of seeing the strong governance framework, which must be implemented, policies, regulations, framework that will provide a solid foundation for security. So when we address investment in cybersecurity, regional collaboration, cybersecurity awareness, and a strong governance framework, those really will be the viable solution that we, as a region, we need in order to overcome all SADC challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that marks the final slide.
So, question day, please feel free to make any questions. Nila?
So looking into the questions, the first question, given the diverse economic and technological landscape in Southern Africa, how can companies tailor their information security and business continuity strategies to better fit the local context? First question, given the diverse economic and technological landscape in Southern Africa, how can companies tailor their information security and business continuity strategies to better fit local context? Okay, perhaps maybe I could start there. I think even from the information that we have shared, it's very, very important for an organization to first of all understand what it's dealing with. I think that is where you look at the context of the organization, what is the size of the organization. It's also important to understand what kind of risks that will impact this organization, and then plan the controls around those risks. And I know with these economic challenges that we have, sometimes it's not easy for remember the inequity that we discussed earlier, for small organizations to provide the absolute resilience that they require. There are options that you can look at from an information security, cybersecurity perspective. You can engage organizations that will provide you the package, security as a service, meaning that you don't have to buy the technologies, you don't have to employ expensive people. You can actually depend on the consultants. They will monitor your environment on your behalf. They will provide you the expertise that you require. And also the goodness with getting a security as a service is that you'll be dealing with organizations that are dealing with technologies that are up to date. One of the issues that I think are very clear in some of the organizations here is that we use traditional cybersecurity technologies, which are at the moment a bit of a challenge. technologies which are configurable, technologies which you are using based on signatures are no longer viable now, because most of the attacks that are coming from artificial intelligence. So you need behavioral-based technologies, which normally will help organizations, to identify and prevent cyber attacks from happening, in good time. And also with, experts with security as a service, you also get things like threat intelligence and threat hunting that normally an organization may not be able to cover. I don't know, Abraão, if you want to add to that.
No, it's okay. It's a great job. You are doing a great job. But let's just go to the second question. I can read and try to highlight also this question. Thank you for the insightful presentation. I'm first year student at EC Council University from Cameroon, and I've recently completed my CH version 12 certification. My biggest challenge has been finding an internship or integrating into cybersecurity role, as I currently work in a sales company. What strategy or step can you recommend for someone in my position to effectively grow my experience and skills in information security while continuing in my current job? Okay, just to highlight that he has already his certification so far, but he's working for another company, not really for this specific as the certification that he got. So he need really some advice in this regard. What do you think, Musonda?
Yeah, so we as DHSF do a lot of work with interns. We work with a lot of different university graduates, as well as students that are still in university. I think the best thing that, first of all, you can do while you're working in your current environment is try and continue reading. And there's a lot of free material now, a lot of free websites, YouTube materials that you can continue learning from, number one. Number two, you need to harness your practical skills again. So from platforms like Hack the Box, from an ethical hacking perspective, I believe with what you are doing already, these are some things that you're already doing. Also, you do take note that with the cybersecurity skills that we have, there are also opportunities to work remotely. So you can also start looking, especially LinkedIn, there are organizations that are looking for people that can help them, the skills that you potentially have outside your regular job. That will help you harness the skills. You can consider weekends. We are always open to get your students to participate in our organization as interns. We have had some international students engaged at an international level, and I believe that other organizations potentially can do that. So you can actually engage with organizations like that and try and harness your skills from a cybersecurity perspective. But cybersecurity, information security really is about practice and practice and practice.
Yes, it's the main practice, okay? Because as we said, practice makes perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, to say. So there is another question, and maybe should be the last one. It's been said that Africa is about 10 to 20 years behind in terms of technology. 10 to 20 behind in terms of technology. How should organizations in Africa approach the rapidly evolving technology advancement? I think that you have already seen from one of the presentation, right? In terms of what we are doing.
Yeah. So I think from the assessments that you saw, I think they literally apply also to the continent overall. First of all, there is a generally good uptake in terms of adoption of technology. And I think we also, let's agree that there's no boundaries now with technology. So it becomes very difficult to say that we're really behind. A lot more times what we're behind in is policy and governance, because technology is accessible across globally. What we can do here, you can do when you're sitting in New York, you can do when you're sitting in China. So there's not really true limit in terms of that. But what we need to enhance is put appropriate governance in place that is going to push, the further adoption of technology. We have in Africa, we are still behind, of course, with let's say telcos, what generation of communications we're using. We are still not using AI yet. This is because we are behind in terms of setting up policy. This is because we're behind. Organizations in their boardrooms have not actually begun to see artificial intelligence as something that is going to impact us. The adoption is very slow. So every time we've got these new technologies, we need to talk about them in advance. We need to ensure that we have got appropriate conversations from the top that are appreciating the emerging technologies. We are talking about a lot of AI now. We're already agreeing that we're behind with cybersecurity. But what about quantum computing? This is something that is in progress. Sooner than later, estimated 2030, they're saying that the cryptography that we have now will be challenged. And it's not far. That's what we thought about artificial intelligence. So in order for Africa, I think, to move forward, personally, I believe we need to begin to adopt, these technologies faster in terms of practicing. When people are talking about Bitcoin and all those things, we thought they were very far away, but are being used. When people are talking about AI, again, if I may put it, we thought it was very far, but now it's an issue. If we say delve into AI, there are conversations around all organizations use artificial intelligence. From the population we saw, there are millennials, Gen Zs, they are all AI experts. From ChatGPT, we're all using AI to refine how well we write, to refine how well we look on the internet. Most pictures now on the internet are generated by artificial intelligence. But what about the actual problems in terms of data privacy, in terms of bias, in terms of transparency? We're not looking at that, and those things can only be looked at when you look at the governance issues, when you look at the policies and what guardrails are we putting in place for our organization to continue using this technology now and going forward.
Okay, Musonda, once again, thank you very much. It's a great job, and we would like also to thank all the audience. Thank you for being here, and we really hope that we had an engaging and informative session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and happy to have all of you stayed up to do that presentation. Have a pleasant day, and goodbye.
Goodbye.